Our next speaker for a quick take is Ryan Wolfe, and Ryan is president of Ability Ministry and has a wealth of knowledge and experience in the emerging field of disability ministry. He's an author, a speaker. He has served in full-time disability ministry as a pastor at First Christian Church in Canton, Ohio, and also has worked with Key Ministry in church consulting. Please welcome to the stage, Ryan Wolfe.
Thank you. I want to talk to you today about a narrative that exists about disability. I want to talk to you about this narrative because it has existed from the beginning of time. This narrative about disability didn't get developed on accident. This narrative about disability was designed to discourage and destroy people with disabilities. You see, this negative narrative has been around forever. And this negative narrative would have you believe certain things about disability. It would have you believe that if you have a disability, you're ugly. It would have you believe that if you have a disability, it's something that's shameful. If you have a loved one with a disability, you should hide them away because the disability is shameful. This negative narrative that has existed from the beginning of time would teach you that if you have a disability, you are less than. And it doesn't stop there. It gets even worse. This negative narrative would convince people that if they have a disability, they're somehow broken. They're a mistake. And once you believe that people with disabilities are broken or a mistake, there's only one next logical conclusion, is that people with disabilities are disposable. These are all negative narratives about disability that have existed from the beginning of time, that are intentional, that were designed to discourage and to destroy. If we look back through history, it's by no mistake that the ancient Greeks, when a child was born, they were inspected. If they didn't live up to, or it didn't look like they were going to live up to certain standards that they had set, or if they had a visible disability in these ancient times, children with disabilities were thrown in the water and drowned. Because of this negative narrative, this belief that people with disabilities are broken and disposable. If we fast forward a little bit into medieval times, people with disabilities may not be drowned, but they may be made into jesters to be mocked at, or they may be employed in a freak show. Because again, this narrative that exists about disability would say that if you have a disability, you are less than. And you become a spectacle. Again, this narrative is designed on purpose to discourage and to destroy. Fast forward a little bit more recent times, we all know of the horrors of the Holocaust, the things that have happened to our Jewish brothers and sisters. But you may not know that the very first people that were gassed, were killed, and were incinerated were the people that got off the trains that had visible disabilities. They're disposed of. The narrative that exists that they are broken, less than, and not worthy of life. You see, we'd like to believe that when we look into Bible times and people that were surrounded by Jesus, that maybe the treatment of people with disabilities was different then, but unfortunately got some more bad news there. Let's look specifically at the disciples of Jesus. We hear in an interaction with Jesus and his disciples in John chapter 9, verse 2, when the disciples asked Jesus a very specific question. They said, "Who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" Their question reveals their theology and their attitudes and their beliefs about disability. It reveals the fact that even the disciples of Jesus believed that disability was a punishment from God as the result of sin. Thankfully, Jesus in the very next verse, in one verse, corrects both their worldview and their theology. Only Jesus can preach a sermon in one sentence, in one verse. We wish our preachers could do the same, right? But again, as we look through some of the stories of the scriptures, we can see again the condition and the living places for people with disabilities. If we look at Luke chapter 14, verse 21, the parable of the great banquet, we obviously know Jesus is the master of the banquet. In Luke 14:21, he says, "Go out quickly into the alleys and the streets and bring in all who are poor, blind, crippled, and lame." This is Jesus saying, bring them in, because in Jesus' day, if you had a disability, you were likely homeless. If you weren't homeless, you were no doubt an outcast in your society because of the negative narratives, again, that existed about people with disabilities that are less than, not even worthy of belonging, okay? Take a look at the word itself, disability, that we use. That's obviously a newer word that has been developed over time. Disability, the prefix on the front of the word ability is an if prefix. It means to be without, to not have ability. So again, disability is just bathed in negatives. This is not a mistake. Like I said, this negative narrative was designed on purpose from the beginning of time by the evil one to discourage and to destroy. We know that because the Bible tells us that when the evil one speaks and he lies, he's speaking his native language. He has created all these lies about people with disabilities because his mission is to steal, kill, and destroy. Jesus tells us that. And the evil one has created this negative narrative about disability because he knows if he can get the world to believe these lies, it will crush people with disabilities mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. It'll do that by isolating people with disabilities. You feel the heaviness of this? It's pretty overwhelming, and it's not an accident. But what if I told you there's a possibility that I've created something that could overturn that entire negative narrative? What if I told you there was a way that we could collectively help people to see people with disabilities as God sees them, as God designed them? What if I told you I've developed a way that you can help bring truth to the lies that the evil one has been telling since the beginning of time? What if I told you you could help people to see people with disabilities as fearfully and wonderfully made, as Psalm 139 says? You have an opportunity to do that. And I'm going to share with you just in a second how you can do that. But what if I told you you have an opportunity to help people to see that all people are image bearers of the Creator? Genesis 1:27 tells us of an account between God the Father and Jesus as they're making all of mankind. And they look at each other, they say, let's make man and woman in our own image. It doesn't exclude people with disabilities. People with disabilities are not a mistake. They're not excluded from being fearfully and wonderfully made. They're not excluded from being an image bearer of the Creator. And this is good news. And this is an opportunity for you to bring truth to a lie of the evil one, to tell the world, to proclaim to the world, to show the world that beauty does belong to everyone. Let me tell you now what we've developed at Ability Ministry that we're so excited about, that we can't do alone. We need your help. We've developed a resource called Disability is Beautiful. What way can you confront the lies of the enemy other than bring truth to it? The enemy wants you to believe that disability is ugly, shameful, less than, broken, disposable. Bring truth to those lies and declare that disability is beautiful, because all people are wonderfully made in the image of the Creator. I want you to pull out your phones, if you have your phones with you, and open up your browser. And I want you to type in disabilityisbeautiful.com, okay? What we have created at Ability Ministry is a free stock photography website that solely features the beauty that belongs to all people, specifically people with disabilities. This is in its infant stage. We launched this in January, and we're building a catalog of high quality images of people with disabilities because there is not equal representation of people with disabilities in stock photography. I know many of you are ministry leaders in this field, and you've probably searched online for images of people with disabilities to use in blogs, newsletters, sermon slides, lessons, different things that you've got going on. And you've probably come across the same images over and over again. The father and the son with Down syndrome, the little girl with Down syndrome with the paint on her hands. You guys know what I'm talking about. We've used those images. One of those images is on one of our flyers out there. But over the years, as we continue to search, and you search in disability in your browser looking for images, you probably find an image of an elderly person in a wheelchair in a nursing home, or you find an image of somebody with Down syndrome. And those are fine, but that's not equal representation of all people with disabilities. That's what we want to create, is a platform where all people with disabilities can be celebrated, because we believe that beauty belongs to them as well. But we need your help. We can only collect so many images and upload them. So if you have a disability and you have a favorite couple pictures of yourself, we'd encourage you to create an account on disabilitiesbeautiful.com, upload those images, and share that with the world. If you have a loved one or a friend with a disability and you have some favorite pictures of them, maybe you with them, we'd encourage you, create a free account, get their permission, and post those pictures online and share them with the world and declare truth where the evil one has been telling lies since the beginning of time. Collectively together, we can overturn this negative narrative by sharing truth and beauty with the world. So share images, and as ministry leaders, use those images in all the different things that you guys create, and share it on social media with the world. If you know some friends that maybe have a disability and they're aspiring to become a model, create a portfolio on our website and have them share their portfolio with the world. It's a free platform. All we want is to overturn that negative narrative and create a resource that is useful for all people to use. Because images speak louder than words, and images are worth 1,000 words. I'll be quiet, and I'm going to roll through just a few of my favorite images that are currently on disabilitiesbeautiful.com. I want you to enjoy them with me. Together, we can do a good work. Together, we can provide the world with a resource that doesn't exist. Together, we can overturn a negative narrative. We can bring truth to lies. Together, we can celebrate the beauty that belongs to everyone. We have these cards at our table, literally right outside the door at the Ability Ministry table. It tells you all about this initiative. Again, it's free. I encourage you, take a whole stack of these cards, share them with friends, share them with families, share them with your ministry. Help us to build this catalog of images so we can overturn what has existed from the beginning of time. Thank you.